Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to episode 31 of Monorail Memoirs. Today we'll be discussing the best Disney. I've written holiday movies. This is an Americanism. They are Christmas movies, but as long as we all know what we're talking about, we'll be fine. So, best holiday movies. The fact of the matter is that, as with every company around this time of year, as soon as November starts, you start getting the Christmas adverts. You get Michael Bublé gets wheeled out of his cupboard for 8 weeks and then gets wheeled back in again. And when by the time that we are recording this, we are well into the swing of all things Christmas. We're both wearing jumpers to give you an idea as to how cold it actually is. But before we get into it, as always, Lauren, how are you?
Well, I'm less good this week because my little girl isn't very well, so we're all not getting very much sleep.
Oh, well, I know what that's like. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. So, yes, not much sleep appears to be the name of the game right now. But nevertheless, we hope that she gets better soon. As we move into this, then, firstly, I want to start by saying is Disney does Christmas. And I'm not just talking about the films, but the theme parks go hard for Christmas as well. Right now in Magic Kingdom, this is what Main Street looks like.
God.
This was given this was a part of a release by Disney themselves in early November for when the decorations went up, because decorations got very early, unsurprisingly, in Walt Disney World. That's what Main Street looks like. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The tree, to give you context of where we're looking, is the castle is behind us. We're looking down Main Street, and you can start to see the railroad entrance at the far end. Beyond that is Seven Seas Lagoon, etc. So I do think it is wonderful. Here is what Epcot looks like. They actually have to bring in a tree for Epcot. And I do think the little LED lights that they decided to stick on the side of Spaceship Earth during COVID were so small and minor, but so clever as an addition. You've now got a whole other view and a whole other side of what is a Disney icon. And finally, this is what the Grand Floridian lobby will look like. This photo is from last year. I want to say that straight away. This photo's from last year, but I was there for I caught the tail end of last Christmas whilst I was doing in the Grand Floridian for doing the Dopey Challenge at the early part of 2025. You can tell this photo's from last year because the birdcage is still there. The birdcage, of course, is not there anymore and has been replaced by a bar called the Perch, which I find kind of funny. But one thing I think that's been missed about this whole press announcement about the central lobby and the Perch is people thought, well, we're going to have a bar there. People are going to go and sit at the bar. That's only partially true. I don't know if you know that the waiters will come around and you can actually get a drink anywhere within the lobby now. So you could be sat on those really comfy couches or whatever, and you could get the attention of the Perch staff and then get you a drink from there. I think that's amazing.
Gosh, I had no idea. I assumed it was going to be, as you say, like a bar, and you had to go to said bar to get a drink. But that's absolutely amazing. I think that I was a bit kind of in two minds about adding a bar into the lobby of the Grand Floridian. It just didn't feel very Grand Floridian-esque to me. It was all just a little bit strange. But the fact that you can kind of sit in those comfy leather wingback chairs, those comfy lounges or whatever you want to sit in, and someone brings you a drink, that sounds fabulous.
It does, doesn't it? And I've got to confess, since the refurb's been done, I'm not sure the status of the leather wingback chairs.
Oh.
Must find out the status of those leather wingback chairs. What a first world problem to have. But as we move into today's topic, we're talking about the best Disney holiday movies or Christmas movies, and so naturally we've put a few together. A lot of these are ones that we watched from our childhood. I'm sure one in particular we'll discuss, but I do think one of the most recognizable ones for even the most casual of Disney fans is going to be The Muppet Christmas Carol. This is based off Charles Dickens' novel. This was actually released in the early 90s, and it's the Muppets Do Christmas Carol. It's a very simple idea to take on Ebenezer Scrooge. Here you actually have Michael Caine playing, I think, a classic role, as he always does. But this is a light-hearted take, of course, with a little bit of musical numbers on what is a classic Christmas story. I also think as well that this is one of those movies that most people don't really associate Muppets with Disney, but it absolutely is Disney product, and so I think a lot of people sort of either forget or don't really understand that that's part of it. But to me, you're not going to get a much better Christmas film than The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah, I agree. It's really nostalgic for me. Obviously, it's the Muppets. It's a little bit old, so it's not got all of the exciting CGI, as you'll probably see. Some of the ghostly things are very old and clunky, but I think that's where its charm sits. I love that part of it, and the fact that it isn't all nice, new and shiny, and it is a little bit rustic. As I say, it's very nostalgic for me. I don't know if I was going to watch it for the first time as an adult that I would feel the same. But because I'm not a massive fan of the Muppets per se, I know that quite a lot of people would come for me on that. I liked the attraction in Hollywood Studios. It was all right, but I'd never really had much of an affiliation to the Muppets. But the Muppets Christmas Carol for me is just a classic.
I do think the change of Rock and Roller Coaster from Aerosmith to the Muppets is a bit of an interesting move. Opening next year at Hollywood Studios, and I don't think it will be open in time for our trip. Unfortunately, looks like I'll have to go twice next year. Oh no, how will I survive? You mentioned nostalgia though, and I think for me and for us, so Lauren and I are only about 2-year age gap, slightly less. And so when it came to Christmas, a lot of things we did together. And we had this particular, this next particular video initially on VHS, because for those people who are much younger, it was like a little box with a big DVD in it, and you put it in a big DVD player, and you had to rewind it and fast forward. Anyway, a whole thing. I'm sure somebody can do a better explanation of what VHS is than I. But for us then, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. It followed 3 sort of stories throughout. They each were about 25 to 30 minutes long, and I just thought this was one of the most wholesome approaches to Christmas. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it yet this year, but I think I might do. All of these that I bring up, by the way, are available on Disney Plus. So if you have a Disney Plus membership, crack on in, get into that. I just think there's something about it that is so wholesome. The carols in it are amazing. And I do remember, I must confess, actually, it was only during research for this particular topic that they actually did a Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. You can see the graphic difference here. This is very much updated. This was sort of a little bit more like early 2000s, late noughties. I feel far less nostalgic towards this one, in part because I forgot it even existed, which probably indicates the level of. Well, I forgot it existed because Disney has a history of doing sequels that they never publicize. Obviously they release them, but they never publicize, and they sort of shove them out there into the ether and hope it sticks. And so I confess I forgot Twice Upon a Christmas was a thing.
So for me, instantly when we decided that we were going to do this episode, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas and Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas were on my high radar. They were up on my list because every single year, without fail, that is what we watch. I just have to. It's a staple, and I'm bringing my children up on it. We always have a movie night, and during December, that is exactly what we're going to watch.
Yeah, and you know what? I get it. I really do. I think I'll be settling down. Watching that this year as well. Again, Twice Upon a Christmas. I feel less affinity to, but I can do it. There's something. Christmas is a really weird time of year, and you don't have to celebrate Christmas. Any holiday works, but Christmas is a really weird time of year because I think it's the one opportunity we all sort of take stock a little bit. And then when people think about New Year and think about New Year's resolutions, because of course that decision to change can be done at any point in the year. That decision to sit down and reflect can really be done at any point in the year. But it's because everyone's doing it around the same time. Most outdoor activities have ceased because it's chuffing miserable. At least it's certainly here because it snows in Northern Virginia. Like it snows big time. Snows this thing, Lauren. Comes from the sky, powdery.
I live in north of England. We get sleet sometimes.
Congrats. And so yeah, there is something really nostalgic about it. And we think of the classic Christmas stories, and again, Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol is absolutely one of them. There is another Disney film that is the Mickey's Christmas Carol. This was in the early 80s. Now, this is more true to the actual story of Scrooge. This is more true to the desolation and poverty and sort of hard story that is felt by it. This is certainly less cheery and less joyous to
Mm.
watch, especially for children. This is an almost true retelling of the Charles Dickens story, and I actually think it can be a little bit depressing.
Yeah, absolutely. And scary. I remember as a child, I was scared of this film. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but I was scared of it. I knew when a specific scene was coming up at the end that I was going to be scared.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a classic Disney story in the sense that we sort of forget now as adults, but you look back on Disney films, and
Mhm.
especially in the early part of the films, you think of films like Bambi, for example, like
Yeah,
Fox and the Hound. Those first 15 minutes, hell, even Up, which
yeah.
captures it in a different way, they're either scary or depressing or what have you, and this very much conforms to that logic.
Mm.
I do have an honourable mention though, and it's one that people won't really think about. This came out during the Michael Eisner phase of doing stuff straight to VHS or straight to DVD rather than doing media releases, and of course, long before streaming was a thing. I quite like it. I think it's nice. It doesn't make any sense for the story behind it, but but you've got Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. It's not a sequel. It's kind of like a half quel. I don't know if that's the
Because
thing.
he's still the beast.
Yeah,
It
doesn't make any sense.
doesn't.
Don't make any sense at all. He's still the beast. But it is pleasant. It is nice. I'm pretty certain none of the original voice actors are still in it, but the music is sort of upbeat and cheery. And it's a shorter film. It's only about an hour and 10 minutes. It's one that I would stick on the list if you're not really bothered about the story making any sense, because as mentioned, the beast is still the beast, yet despite the fact he's supposedly now a man at the end of the film. So I'm not sure when this is set to take place, but it's a thing. We enjoy it. And let's face it, around the time of Christmas, we can suspend belief slightly for a while.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before we discussed this, I did forget about it, but now it's all coming back. I do
Yeah.
remember it all, and it is kind of a forgotten one because, I mean, I'm a massive Disney fan and I forgot it, but I do remember really enjoying it. But then with an adult mind, you're totally right, it makes no sense. The
No
beast is
sense at
still the
all.
beast, and then at the end, they're humans again. But then all of this horrendous stuff during the first film has never happened, or has it happened, or are we in the middle of the film?
I don't know. Cogsworth was a cog, then he's not. I just don't know. My I do know that's the end of my list, but I know that there was one I missed off that you think should have been included. So what is that?
Yeah, so it is The Nightmare Before Christmas. I know that you're not a massive fan of it, and some people are like, no, it's a Halloween film, it's absolutely not a Christmas film, but it's got Christmas in the title. How can it not be a Christmas film? I think it's one of those films that just spans different seasons and it molds itself into whatever season it wants to be in. So it was relevant in October and Halloween. You can kind of get away with watching it through November and December, Christmas, bam, Santa's in it. Of course, you got to watch it at Christmas. I absolutely love it.
I've never been a fan now before Christmas. I appreciate Tim Burton's work is legendary, but I never got on board with this particular one, and I understand why people love it. One of the things I do find weird though is that there's quite a few places throughout Disney. There's one in Magic Kingdom, one in Disney Springs, of Christmas shops throughout the year, and they are literally year-long Christmas shops. Because if you're visiting, there's no guarantee you're going to be going there around the time of Christmas. And if you want Christmas ornaments or presents, etc., these are the places to get it. And I always find it weird when there's Jack Skellington and Sally and the other characters from Nightmare Before Christmas in Christmas shops, because to me it doesn't symbolize Christmas. It's more of a Halloween thing. That is just my humble but correct opinion. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us this week on a shorter canter through some of the classic Disney Christmas films: Muppets Christmas Carol, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, or Twice Upon a Christmas as well. If you want to watch the sequel, fine. Mickey's Christmas Carol, Beauty and the Beast, and the Enchanted Christmas, and then we can have a debate over whether or not you want to include Jack and Sally, complete with the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Absolutely.
As always, thank you very much for joining us this week. We hope you have a pleasant time around the beginning of the Christmas festive period. Stay safe, and as always, please stand clear of the doors. Bye, everybody.
Bye.